Before we get started, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of the content that is released by GoCollect. And if you're interested, head over to Reggie Collects here on YouTube. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector and the host of the GoCollect speculation video, and I want to welcome you to another episode. Before we dig into this week's blog post, I want to give a huge shout out to all of the bloggers that contribute to the GoCollect website. Week in and week out, these bloggers are putting together some fantastic content that I'm allowed to represent in this weekly speculation recap video. And I am very appreciative to them for putting together, again, a wide range of blog posts that we get to pick and choose from to represent in this video. As a reminder, there is a ton of other content that is available from these bloggers on the GoCollect.com website. With that said, let's dig into the blog post. Our first blog post is an interesting one because it is full of some wonderful anecdotal stories. And what I mean by that is that our blogger takes some time to revisit history. And he talks a little bit about how he used to catalog, inventory, and price his comic book collection in the pre-internet era. And we are talking Lotus 123, right? We are talking floppy disk and the Overstreet pricing guide. Fast forward, the blogger digs into how he has come to use things like the Overstreet guide in conjunction with GoCollect to price comic books and how he uses these two resources hand in hand to understand the values associated with his comics, also the census data for those books. This was a really fun blog post to read because I actually had Lotus 123 and floppy disk and all of that kind of stuff back in the day. So this was a really fun blog post to read. So if you have some time, I definitely want to encourage you to check this one out. More villains are coming to the MCU, so saith our next blogger who took a trip down the toy aisle to make this prediction. If you've been paying attention, there is a direct correlation between the action figures that are released by Hasbro and who and what appears in the MCU movies. And so our next blogger is basically making some predictions as to who we are going to see in the future. The very first action figure and character that our blogger talks about is Dr. Doom, arguably one of the greatest villains in comics. And so the blogger is basically saying that Dr. Doom is coming. He is coming. And if you do believe that he's coming, you definitely want to try to pick up some of his associated keys now before they are even further out of reach. And for many people, they already are out of reach. So let's first acknowledge that. Now, with that said, there are a few other characters that the blogger mentions in this post. One such character is Lady Deathstrike, who appeared in Alpha Flight issue number 33. And if you know your Marvel history, you know that Lady Deathstrike has a lot of ties to the X-Men and specifically to Wolverine. And if you've been paying attention to the MCU and all the rumors that are out there, you know that the X-Men, that Wolverine, they are coming. And potentially Lady Deathstrike might be coming along with them. And so to that end, this potentially is a book, Alpha Flight 33, that you may want to check out. Another character that you may want to check out is the Hood. And the Hood first appeared in the Hood issue number 1. And a lot of folks may not know who this character is, but our blogger does a really solid job of providing a little bit of context as to who he is. And he is a character that has a hood, a cape, and some boots that allows him to walk on air. But he also has ties to a lot of heroes and villains. He specifically tends to pull together groups of villains to battle against the likes of Characters like Doctor Strange, The Punisher, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Man, and Hawkeye. And as I mentioned, he has ties to a lot of villains like Doctor Doom, Dormammu, Loki, Norman Osborn, and even Namor the Submariner. This again could be a character that we might see at some point in the MCU. If you have any interest in any of the characters that I've mentioned thus far, you may want to check out this blog post. The debate between cameos and first appearances really is an age-old debate that honestly isn't going away anytime soon. Now, with that said, that debate makes for some really fantastic blog posts because that is the case with the one that we are talking about right now. And in this post, the blogger does a really fantastic job of examining two case studies. One for the cameo and first appearance of Mr. Sinister, a character that is believed to be coming to the MCU at some point. On the other side, the other case is the cameo and first appearance of Gambit, another very popular character that is rumored to potentially be coming to the MCU. But in this blog post, the blogger does a really solid job of examining the breakdown in logic and how we are looking at cameos versus first appearances for one character versus another. And I certainly don't want to ruin this for anyone, but I will encourage you to actually read this blog post because it is well done. And it does point out, again, our inconsistency in how we are applying, our approach to these types of appearances. The other thing that I will point out to you is that we don't know which way the wind is going to blow on these books. When you're talking about the cameo and the first appearance, things could change in the future. And my personal opinion is this: if possible, it is best to get the cameo and the first appearance and possibly even the second appearance. That way you cover your bases and you don't have to worry about a thing. This blog post on Mr. Sinister and Gambit is linked in the description. Check it out and let me know down in the comment section where you believe the value really is for these two characters long term. Our next blogger is asking a really interesting question. And the question is, which characters and or comics are poised for big returns in the future? And that question is really tied to the notion that DC is going to continue investing in the DCEU. They are going to continue making movies. They are going to continue bringing more characters to the screen. And if that happens, again, which books, which characters are best positioned to have some great potential in the future? It is undeniable that Marvel has had greater success with their movies and TV shows than DC, just as a whole. But that isn't to say that that will remain the case moving forward. And so over the course of this post, our blogger actually identifies a couple of characters in a couple of books that you may be interested in. One of those books and characters is Shazam, specifically Shazam issue number 1. At this point, we know that Shazam is going to have a sequel, and there are rumors that there is going to be a big name actor that is actually going to appear in that movie, and arguably the Shazam movie actually wasn't all that bad. And so if there's a sequel that is coming and a big name actor is going to appear in it, that could have a positive impact on Shazam issue number 1. Prior to 2017, the high sale for Shazam issue number 1 hovered around $500 and went as low as $300. But once the news broke in early 2017, this book exploded, and the high sales of this book actually reached about $1,000. And what we're starting to see now is that a 9.8 is again pushing the $1,000 mark with a recent sale in early January of $1,030. And so again, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this book, especially because of the second character that is mentioned in this blog post, specifically Black Adam. Black Adam has been rumored for years to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, arguably one of the most liked and respected celebrities out there right now. And as a result of that, the book that is associated with Black Adam is also increasing in value. We are, of course, talking about Shazam issue number 28. This book has a current fair market value at a 9.8 of around $2,100. And the big question is, does this book have a ceiling? Has it hit its ceiling? And remember that Dwayne "The Rock" has not even appeared in a trailer for this movie. And again, the book has an FMV of around $2,100 and has the potential maybe to go up even higher. Definitely interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. The very last character that is actually rumored is Zatanna. Zatanna is a fan favorite for so many different reasons. And again, there are some rumors that she might get her own movie. I would encourage you to check out this blog post. It is linked down in the description. With the passing of Chadwick Boseman, a lot of speculation has ensued as to the future of the Black Panther franchise in the MCU. A lot of folks speculated that Shuri would step into that role in Black Panther 2 the same way that she stepped into the role in comics. As a result of that, the value of Shuri-related comics have increased in value dramatically. But our next blogger is essentially making an argument for another character that could have a more prominent role in the movie moving forward. And he is specifically talking about M'Baku. And M'Baku is oftentimes known as a villain, but in the movie, he didn't necessarily play that role. And for that reason, he could have a more prominent role as a hero in the Black Panther franchise. And if you believe that this is possible, there are a couple of books that you may want to check out. Specifically, his first appearance in Avengers issue number 62. This Silver Age book has had its ups and downs in terms of value over the last few years. In 2018, shortly after the Black Panther movie was released, a 9.4 copy of this book sold for $550. A 9.6 copy sold for roughly $3,000. Fast forward a few years, the FMV of a 9.4 currently sits at $290, and a 9.6 sits at roughly $950. So again, a wonderful illustration of what can happen with time, with some books that are red ocean. They certainly can become blue ocean a little bit later and may represent a better buying opportunity. Now, with that said, even those prices that I just mentioned before may be a little too high for some people, and for that reason, you may want to check out his second appearance in Avengers issue number 75. We don't really know what the future holds for this franchise. We do know that there is a second movie that is coming, and we can assume that some of the Wakandans in that universe are going to step up and are going to have a more prominent role. This blog post is linked down in the description. Rush Limbaugh passed away about a month ago, and our next blogger used his passing as an opportunity to talk about comics and politics. But before you hit the thumbs down button, let me tell you that it's not that type of post. What the blogger did is he looked at the appearances of modern presidents in comics. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right or you're a moderate, presidents have appeared throughout time in the pages of comics and also on the covers of comics as well. I, for one, did not know that President Barack Obama, a person that I've met, actually appeared 5 times on a cover. Technically, it was the same cover, multiple prints, but nevertheless, I did not know that he had that many cover appearances. But if you're into political comics and politics, this could be a blog post that you want to check out. It is linked down in the description. So there you have it. We have reached the end of another recap. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and if you enjoyed it, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button and tune in next week when we get to do this all over again.